welcome to another edition of Paratalk. I'm Gareth Davis, and once again I'm joined by paranormal enthusiast Reeves Cook. And this week we have a very strange and unnerving but somewhat common phenomena, the phenomena of the Phantom Hitchhiker. Hello, Reeves.
Hello, Gareth.
The Phantom Hitchhiker, man, this is a great topic. I remember hearing stories of this as a child and being fascinated by it. But what is a Phantom Hitchhiker? Can you give us like a kind of overview of the phenomena?
Well, firstly, it's one of the most common paranormal events that people, when you go into the realms of ghosts and spooks and people seeing things, it's actually one of the most worldwide. It's one of the most common for people to experience. And you think of a dark night and a lonely road, picking someone up, and 1 minute they're there, or that kind of thing. But it actually does happen in not such desolate places. I mean, there are people that have been in built-up areas that have picked people up, and
or even seen
had
somebody
the same sort of experience.
I mean, the classic case is that you're driving along, usually at night, in a deserted country road or a part of town that's kind of deserted, and you see somebody hitchhiking. Yeah. Maybe a young girl or something, and then you think, oh, you know what? It's dark, it's late, maybe I should give her a lift, Yeah. And you pull over to give her a lift, and she's gone, or something like that, or she'll vanish in front of your eyes as you drive towards her, or things of that nature.
Well, we've got to. We just want to quickly jump in here and just separate, because sometimes people get a bit confused with roadside apparitions, because we've got roadside apparitions and the Phantom Hitchhiker phenomenon. So
right.
Usually with the roadside apparitions, it's just something that someone sees, and 1 minute it's there, and the next minute it vanishes. It might be something to do with somebody in the road. Or
I was going to say, would that be more like, you're driving along and you see someone in the middle of the road, you slam your brakes on thinking you're going to hit them, but they're not even there. That kind of thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can start. I mean, I've got actually one case of an example which happened in Heswall. Individual driving to Heswall, which is in England, and it was to do with a cyclist. The individual was driving his car, and he saw a cyclist on the road, and he decided to do the right thing and carefully overtake the individual. And he, went around him, and he looked in his mirror as he went around the individual and make sure he didn't, cut him up.
Right.
And when he looked in the mirror to see if the cyclist was still there, he'd gone.
He was gone.
He was gone, and he was on an open stretch of road.
Yeah.
He could clearly see in front of him and behind him.
Now, things like that, I mean, there could be just standard explanations, that the cyclist could have just jumped off the road and ran behind a bush or something, or
could have, yeah.
Or maybe just lied down in the grass and you wouldn't see him. But even though that's all possibilities, you have to think, well, why would you do that?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would you do that? That's crazy.
One of the with that case, the experience that I just recounted, one of the theories was that the individual actually did do that. They actually got off their bike and went and led in long grass, which was nearby. But you think to yourself, why would someone do that?
Well, there's two things. One, why would they do it? And if they were to do that, how would they know that the driver who passed them is looking in their mirror to see where they are?
Yeah,
you wouldn't know. As far as the driver's concerned, the guy on the bike might be the last thing on his mind. I've overtaken a guy on a bicycle, and now I'm fixating on where I'm heading. They're not even in the driver's mind.
Yeah, well, I think the most when we come to the roadside apparitions, I think the most common, as you just recounted at the beginning of the show, was individuals that are driving their vehicles and they come around the corner and there's someone actually in the road. And they think that they've actually knocked someone over or they've hit someone, only to pull over and get out of their vehicle, and there's no one around.
Right.
That's the most common when it comes to like a roadside apparition.
Yeah.
But then, of course, we move up a scale, and then we've got the whole the Phantom Hitchhiker.
Let's get into that a little bit. Let's give us your best, a real good case of a Phantom Hitchhiker, somebody driving along and they pick someone up or see somebody. Tell us that one.
Well, we've got a couple, but I'm going to start with one that I think is one of my favorites, because not only is it a really interesting case, but it's also one that's been very well documented. Now, this is an individual. This happened. Let me give you some idea. Back in Bedfordshire, in October 1979. Now it happened to an individual called Roy Fulton. He, by day, he was a carpet fitter. That was his profession.
Yeah.
He drove a van, so obviously that was his way to get around. And he was out one night at the local pub having a drink with his friends. And he decided, he'd had a couple of beers, nothing crazy. He wasn't over the limit or anything like that. He just had a couple of beers. And he had to get back to, he had to be up in the morning. So he jumped in his van and off he drove. And the stretch of road that he would go down was quite desolate. And it was, to the next town. There wasn't much around. And he's happily driving along. It's not late, but it's late. It's not early in the morning, but it's
right.
Late
So it's late.
So there isn't many people around
after 9 p.m. and it's dark.
Yeah, and it's there's cars, but there's not
too many. Right.
Not activity.
Okay.
He's happily driving along, and he notices in his headlights, because the lighting in the area isn't great. He notices in his headlights that there's an individual up the road a bit, and he's thinking, well, what are they doing out here? It's a long walk to the next town, considerable number of miles away. I wonder if they want a lift. So he pulls his van up and he's, gives a signal, do you want a lift? The individual then approaches his vehicle, opens the door, and sits in the passenger side. Now, he asks the individual, where are you going? Do you want a lift? And all the individual does, he doesn't say anything, but he gestures and points to up the road, as in, I'm going that way.
Right.
Wherever you're going, I suppose, is where I'm going. So he didn't think anything of it. Maybe the guy was shy, didn't like, he just wanted to get from A to B,
Right.
So that was that.
So he probably thought, oh, that's a bit weird. I've picked up a nut job here, but let me just take him to where we want to go and get him out of the car.
And have done with it. He's driving off and he's going up the road, just trying to make conversation, not really getting anywhere. And the individual that he's given the lift is just sat there, casual. Roy Fulton reaches for his cigarettes, have a cigarette. And he thought, well, I'll offer this young chap a cigarette. And as he turns to offer him a cigarette, there's no one there.
Ah.
Now, of course, immediately he's freaked out. What's going on? I just picked an individual up. He's only been in my vehicle 5-6 minutes, and he's not there anymore. He pulls his vehicle over to the side of the road, and the first thing he does is he puts on his interior light, to light the inside of the vehicle up.
Right. So you're thinking maybe he jumped into the back of the van or something.
That's exactly what he thought.
Yeah.
He thought the individual had just, gone. I mean, where has he gone? He's in the van.
Right.
The door's closed. The door didn't open.
Right.
So where is he? He must be in the back. Logically thinking, he must be in the rear of the vehicle.
Sure, yeah.
That's what he thought. He searched. He actually physically got out of the van, went around the back and opened the doors and looked inside to make sure, there was no one in there. He then looked behind the van down the road, which is obviously he's on an open stretch of road.
Yeah.
He couldn't see anyone. He then looked in front of the van. He couldn't see anyone. And of course, then he jumped back in the van and he just headed for home as fast as possible.
That's the moment probably when he looked everywhere, and when he couldn't find anything. That's when the moment hit him, like, oh my God!
What did I experience?
Then fear kicks in, and he's like, I'm out of here.
Well, he drove as fast as he could back to his house. The first thing he did when he got in is he told his wife, I've just had this crazy experience.
Yeah.
I don't understand what I've experienced. His wife said that he was incredibly distraught, questioning, what he just experienced. Like, am I going mad?
Yeah.
Did I just experience something that my brain made up, or what? And he was so distraught that the following day he went to the police station and filed a police report. So it was documented at the local police station of his experience and what he had experienced.
Yeah.
And of course, the police took a statement. Now, obviously, they wanted to know what the ins and outs. And his description was that he was a man, a figure who was wearing dark clothes, and he had an open white shirt. He didn't speak, but he was able to get into the van. So whatever this individual was, this is a brilliant part, whatever this was, opened the door of the van by itself and closed the door.
When you were relating the story right now, that was one of the first things that popped into my head when you were talking about it, was when he pulled over to pick up the hitchhiker, and the hitchhiker, walks towards the van, opens the door, and gets into the passenger seat. Mm-hmm. Now, the guy isn't he looks just like a regular, normal human being. He wasn't like some see-through specter or anything. He just looked like a regular, normal dude, a normal guy. But can you imagine the absolute terror of just talking away as you're driving, and then you glance towards the passenger seat, and it's empty?
Yeah, and you're thinking, what's going on? Your brain goes into a kind of a mega questioning mode as what is actually happening.
Your brain goes into overload.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the confusion and the terror that kind of wraps around your head almost immediately? One minute you're driving along, you're talking away to this guy, and probably through the periphery of your vision, you're seeing him sitting there. Yeah. You reach for your cigarettes, so your periphery is gone while you're searching for the cigarettes. You turn around and you say, "Hey, you want to smoke?" And you offer it to the guy, and he is gone.
Nowhere to be seen.
Wow.
Not even, as I say, Roy Fulton stopped the vehicle. He searched the vehicle thoroughly. Yeah. At that moment, and he also looked the rear of the vehicle, and obviously being in an open road, the street lights. There weren't many street lights, but there's enough to see that there's no one around. Yeah. Once again, if the door had opened and the individual had jumped out, the interior light would have come on.
I know, but he would have known that. If the guy had opened the door,
and that the van speed was approximately about 40 miles an hour.
Right. So
to jump out from a moving vehicle doing 40 miles an hour,
the guy would be injured.
You would injure yourself.
And if you opened the door, you'd see the movement, you'd see what was going on, you'd reach over, "Hey, no, don't, I'll pull over," or "You want to leave, I'll pull over," right? Yeah. But just for no disturbance, no nothing, and you turn and you look, and the passenger is gone. I'm just imagining it, imagining the absolute fear and confusion, and you'd be disorientated. You'd be like, "What the?" It would be mind-boggling, but ultimately, it would be a terrifying experience, I think. Don't you?
Oh, definitely. Think for anyone that would go through that. The first thing you would think was, "Am I having some sort of mental episode? Am I having a mental breakdown?"
Yeah. I tell you what, though, Reeves, I bet you the next day when he went to the police station and he related the story, the first words out of the policeman's mouth was, "Were you drinking, sir?"
Yeah, he was breathalyzed when he went to the police station, but the police also did recount that he's not the first person to report.
Oh, really?
The experience, not on that area, right? But that people that have come into the police station and reported thinking they've hit someone or someone's got in their car. So it is, as I say, it's more common than what most people think. Yeah. That these, then they don't just happen. It's not just a tiny village in England where it happens. It happens all over the world.
All right, then, Reeves, let's take a real quick break, and we'll come back and we'll discuss some other amazing cases of phantom hitchhikers. We'll be right back.
The Mind Tech Podcast is your weekly dose of tech, privacy, security, and conspiracy. Each week, the Mind Tech Podcast will talk about the very latest tech news and the continued threats to internet freedom. Hosted by Garrett Davis and Joe Resington. You can download and subscribe to the Mind Tech Podcast at mindsetcentral.com.
You're listening to Paratalk.
Hi, everyone. This is Gareth from MindsetCentral.com. Just coming on really quickly to talk to you about subscribing or donating to Mindset Central. Right now, we average about 17 brand new podcasts a month on Mindset Central, and that's for free. So you get that content for free. It always has been free, and it will continue to be free. But just take a moment to imagine the time and the effort it takes to put all that together, plus also creating, building, sustaining the website and the server costs. We're constantly finding ourselves reaching the point that sometimes is the breaking point, and we're up against that old foe of time and money. And we're hoping that with your help, we can break through this wall. Not only do we want to continue with Mindset Central, but we want to build upon it and create something very special on the internet. So please think about helping us and becoming a subscriber. By becoming a subscriber to Mindset Central, you'll have access to the subscriber section, which provides exclusive, all-new podcasts and a lot more. The subscriber section has and will continue to grow into an area that you will want to be a part of. And with monthly access priced at that of a large coffee at Starbucks. So for one coffee, you get access to the subscriber section, packed with content that is continually added to on a weekly basis. So please help us. Help us by becoming a subscriber. Thank you. And we're back. Okay, Reeves, before we move on to our next story of the Phantom Hitch Hikers, before the break, I wanted to ask you something, so I'm going to ask you now real quick. The case that we just discussed with the hitchhiker who vanished from the van. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that at the police station, the police had said there'd been other reports that had taken place there. Has there been any kind of research that was done in the area to try and connect these encounters?
Yeah, there was some research done in that particular area and, around that area to see if anything actually had happened that you could tie in with the event that Rob Fulton experienced. And in that area, there was some time before, I think it was a number of years before, correct me if I'm wrong, or something like that. Didn't happen the day before, but a young Scottish hitchhiker was killed in that area of walking on the road after he was returning from a party one night. He was knocked down and killed, and there is you could say loosely that the young man that got into the vehicle,
some kind of connection,
that could be the man that was killed in that stretch of road. But I mean, it could be coincidence. But sure. Needless to say, that I believe that Rob Fulton, he did experience something very strange, just like many other people.
Oh, absolutely, no question. I mean, this is one of those solid cases. I don't doubt his word for 1 second. I absolutely don't think he's making it up or lying. As to what really happened to him, I don't know, but I think he's being honest and truthful in relating the events that he claims took place. Mm-hmm.
Well, our second account happened a couple of years before Rob Fulton's account in a different area.
Yeah, I was going to say different area, though, right?
Yeah, different area. It happened in Frome, which is 10 miles west of Warminster, Warminster is a city in England. And this is a slightly, although a similar experience, it's got a slightly different twist to it, as where our previous account had limited interaction with just the figure, the individual pointing to a general direction of where he wanted to. When he was asked where he wanted to go, he just gestured where straight ahead. Now this is happened to a lady whose name has not been disclosed, and she was on her way home one evening, and she noticed a young person who was wandering not in the road, but by the road. So she decided to offer the person a lift.
Okay.
Now, once again, we have the individual able to open the door of a car and get in and close the door.
Right.
This time it was to the rear of the vehicle.
So she got in the back seat.
Yeah, in the back seat. Yeah.
Okay.
The conversation, there was conversation but it was pretty much one way. The lady could see the individual in the rear view mirror, and when she asked, where you going, tell me where you're going and where you want to get out.
Yeah.
The individual's reply was, I'm cold. Just constantly telling the lady, I feel very cold. Are you cold? I'm cold.
So wait, let's get a solid mental image of this. So she picks up a hitchhiker. It's a young lady. She gets into the back seat of the car, so she's sitting behind the driver, or to the behind the passenger seat. The driver's driving along, looking in the rearview mirror, and can clearly see the hitchhiker in the back seat.
She can see the individual,
and she's
also
asking
she
her
can clearly hear.
Right, because she's asking her where, okay, where do you want to go? I'll drop you off, whatever. And all the hitchhiker says is, "I'm cold."
Just complaining that she's cold. It's I'm cold. I'm cold. The young lady who's driving the car takes her eyes away from the mirror for a moment, and then looks back, and there's no one in the car. Now, I just want to point out that the car that she was driving, she could set the locks in the car to the back seat.
Right,
auto-lock.
Okay, so it's got central locking.
Yeah, so they auto-locked, so you couldn't open them from the inside. You could only open them from the outside.
Right.
Like a child protection, I suppose, to stop children opening the doors if they're in the back. But so, once again, we don't have an individual that's able to suddenly open the door and jump out.
Right.
It was a split second where she glanced away from the mirror and then glanced back, and there's no one there.
Now, this story is remarkably similar to the previous one that we discussed right before the break.
Yeah.
The only difference being this one, whatever sat in the back seat spoke.
There was limited verbal communication. Yes.
I'm cold.
Explaining, I'm cold. I'm cold.
I'm cold.
Now, the thing is, she was so distraught that she went straight to the police.
Okay.
She went straight to the police and reported the incident.
No
the first thing
fooling
the police did was to breathalyze her.
Okay.
Thinking she was under the influence of alcohol
or something, yeah.
She came back clear. In their report, they reported her at the time of being a highly distraught motorist when she came in to make her report. And it was left at that. There was nothing for them to investigate.
Yeah.
Because there was no individual, there was no crime had been committed.
It's strange because it's not really a police issue. None of these cases have anything to do with the police whatsoever.
No.
But it's interesting that people. I don't know whether that would happen so much today, but back then, people had a very different view of the police, and the police were very different than what they are today. And I guess it was like a kind of public safety net. Whenever anything disturbing or upsetting happened, it was common. It was natural to go to the police station and report these incidents. I don't know whether that would happen today.
Well, interesting enough that this individual, this didn't happen to her once. This happened to her twice. She
really?
Had a strange experience. Yeah. Sometime later, I haven't got the exact time, but sometime later, she was in her car again, driving along in and around, it wasn't the same area, but around the same area. And she drove around the corner, and she experienced an individual stood in the road. And she skidded her car off the road.
Yeah.
And, thinking that she'd hit someone.
Right.
She went back to the police and reported another event, which, once again, there's no evidence, nothing's happened, so they just documented it and left it at that.
Yeah.
But one individual took up, after speaking to someone, he took up the reports and decided to do some research into the area. to find out if there was any connection with any strangeness, any people losing their lives. And his report did turn up that many years beforehand, an American serviceman was killed in that area in a car crash, and also that there was back in the early days, there was a judge in the area that presided in the area, Judge Jeffries,
right.
and he used to oversee public hangings. And in that area, there were a lot of people that were hanged publicly for, crimes,
Gotcha, okay.
whatever it might be, and they were publicly hanged. So once again,
the area
we've got a connection with trauma.
Exactly, yeah.
In that area.
See, the only thing that's kind of a red flag with that last one for me is that she experienced something again.
Yeah.
I mean,
very rare.
Yeah, it's extremely rare, and for somebody to, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, but it's an interesting case, regardless.
If we go back to Roy Fulton's case, he never experienced anything ever again.
Right.
And I mean, he passed away now. He died some time ago. Well, not a while ago. He died.
Right.
But he never experienced anything again, and he stuck to his. He stuck to his guns. That is what I experienced. Basically,
he seems,
you can believe it or you can disbelieve it.
I mean, it's even though there's entirely different phenomena. The first case, it's very similar in tone and feeling, for me at least, to the UFO case we discussed on Paratalk recently with in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
Was it Robert Taylor incident?
Yeah.
Very similar, because with Robert Taylor, with the Phantom Hitchhiker, I mean, both of these stories literally reek to high heaven of truth.
Well, I think that when you have accounts like this, they're so. I want to say, I don't want to use the word simplistic, but they're so straightforward.
Yeah, there's nothing.
It wasn't like they were on a spaceship and they were whisked away to another planet, and it was something they experienced for a very short moment in time, and they have no explanation for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that with the whole Phantom Hitchhiker, because if you think of the Phantom Hitchhiker, and then you think of, I think we did a show way back regarding missing time and individuals that went to a chateau, or I think it was a hotel that
in France, right? Yeah,
was out of time,
right?
And the couple that went to the village in I think it was the west of England, or the south of England, where they experienced it as it was 10 years or 20 years previously.
Yeah,
and when they went back there, a number of days later, everything was not as it was the few days previous that they visited.
Very strange.
So I think with the hitchhiker phenomenon and the roadside ghost phenomenon, which are in the same genre but not of the same ilk,
yes,
I think what we've got here is something that is either a replay, it's either residual as a haunted house when you've got people's footsteps and voices, potentially a residual phenomenon.
I don't see it as a residual, though. I mean, you're absolutely right. There are lots of residual elements to it, but there's clearly physical interaction.
Yeah, but when we get to the level of where these phantoms, ghosts, apparitions, spiritual individuals, I don't know the word, but when they're able to hold a door and push the button in and open it, there's a sign of intelligence there.
Right.
To open the door, and there's also a sign of however they've manifested to be there, they're able to interact with material objects.
Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely some kind of physical interaction, and it does show intelligence also. No, I would agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Reeves, another great topic, great show, and some great stories. I have to admit, some really great stories there. Thank you so much, and no doubt we'll be back again very soon with some more Paratalk.